Indram mitram varunamagnimahuratha duvyassasu parnagarutman ekam sadvipraha bahudha vadantyagrim yamam mahatarishvanamahuh Yonah pita janitayo vidhata dhamani veda bhuvanani vishwa Yo devanahanna madhayeka eva tam samprashyam bhuvanayantanyam Anjile ஒன்று பெற்றான் அஞ்சிலே ஒன்றைத் தாவி அஞ்சிலே ஒன்று ஆறாக ஆரியற்காக ஏகி அஞ்சிலே ஒன்று பெற்ற அணங்கு கண்டு அயலர் ஊரில் அஞ்சிலே ஒன்றை வைத்தான் அவன் நம்மை அழித்து காப்பான். Good evening everybody. Usually lotuses bloom only in the morning, but here is a lotus named Mr. Aravind blooming in the evening. So he is going to, the speaker is going to talk on the topic management science in Sundarakāṇḍam. So first of all, I should give a small introduction about Sundarakāṇḍam. See, Nigamanta Mahadeshika is considered as the lion among poets and a lion among logicians. Kavi Tarkika Kesari. He narrates the whole story of Sundarakāṇḍam in a single word in his masterpiece Raghuvira Gadyam. Apara para vara parikha varivrta parapura parisrta davada hanajavana pavana bhava kapivara parishunga bhavita sarvaswadana. Apara para vara, he begins with the word apara. Though it may appear to be very brief, the whole Sundarakāṇḍa of 68 sargas appears here in brief, but it contains minute details from following the lines of Srimad Valmiki Ramayana. So take the first letter, first 3 letters apara. Decode it using our Vedic numerical code or Katapya Sankhya. I is 0, Pa is 1, and Ra is 2. Ankana Bhamato Gatihi. So it represents the number 210, 210. So what is 210? If it read Sundarakāṇḍa, if you study Sundarakāṇḍa, the first chapter, Samudra contains only 210 shlokas. So Vedanta Deshika, even in his casual remark, will be very minute in the details. And according to Srimad Ananda Tirtha, the great exponent of Dvaita, Haris Sarvottamaha, Vayu is Jivottamaha. So Vayu pervades the whole universe as the blessed Jivatmas. Yajurveda praises Lord Vayu in several suttas. Namaste Vayo Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahmasi Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahma Vadishyami. So Vayu reborn as Hanuman. Atma Vai Putra Namasi. Son is the incarnation of Father as per Vedas. So Hanuman reborn as Bhima. And Bhima reborn as Madhvacharya. That is why we say, when we say Srimad Sri Lakshmi Nrsimha Parabrahmane Namaha, what is the actual meaning? Srimad Dhanumat Bhima Madhva Antargata Ramakrishna Vedavyasatmaka Lakshmi Nrsimha Parabrahmane Namaha. So Rigveda praises Vayudeva by several hymns. The first adjective, the first word for Vayu is very beautiful. Beautiful. So Darshata is Darshaniya. So when I say beautiful, the word is not beautiful. The word itself is beautiful. Okay, as in the mythological story of Ulysses and Cyclops, the demon shouted, "Nobody is killing me." But actually, the name is nobody. Nobody is killing me. So Rigveda says, Vaya Vaya hi darshate me sobha arangkrita teshaham pahi sudhihavam. Vaya Vaya hi darshate darshate. Darshata means beautiful. Darshaniya. Hey Darshaniya Vayo. So, oh, beautiful Vayudeva, you are most welcome for the Somayaga. So that is uttered by Rigveda. So Darshata is the synonym for Sundara. Darshata is the synonym for Sundaraha. Sundaraha is Vayudeva. Sundara reborn as Anjaneya. So Sundara is the name for Anjaneya. So this word represents two gods directly and explicitly in our literature. One is Lord Narasimha and another is Lord Hanuman, Vayu son. Alvar praises this in Divya Prabandham. Arahiya Bantane, Hariyuru Bantane, Parahiya Bantole, Panimin. Only Hari is beautiful. Hariyuru Bantane. Again, Hari means Lord Narasimha, lion or monkey. So lion is Lord Narasimha, monkey is Lord Anjaneya. So here Hari means both lion and monkey. So that is why the fifth Kanda is named as Sundarakāṇḍam. So in Vishnu Sahasranamam, we start with the word Vishwam. Vishwam Vishnur Vashatkaro Bhuta Bhavuja Bhavat Prabhu. Vishwam means Lord Vishnu. Vishwaha is Lord Hanuman. So hence Vishwaya Namaha will denote both. So Veda reveals several secret names, like codes for everything. For example, there are several synonyms for water. Salilam, Kamalam, Jalam. Like in Amarakosha says, Salilam is water, Kamalam is water, Jalam is water. But there is another name which is not uttered in any scripture, only in Vedas it is told. Yetadva apamna madheyam guhyam yada dhavaha. Adhavaha. Adhavaha is the name for water. Similarly, in Vishnu Sahasranamam, the Lord is addressed by two secret names of 2 months. Viraha Madhavo Madhuhu. Viraha Madhavo Madhuhu. Madhava or Madhu are spelled as the names of Lord Vishnu by Pitamaha Bhishmacharya. But actually, Yajurveda mentions these 2 names as the months of 2 names, Chaitra and Vaishakha. Madhuscha Madhavascha Vasantika Bhritu. Vasatam is spring season. Madhu means Chaitra Masa, Madhava is Vaishakha Masa. So Rama born in the month of Madhu in Punarvasu star, and Madhava, Lord Narasimha born only in this month in Swati Nakshatra. So only in these 2 stars, according to astrology, Punarvasu and Swati, they don't have inauspicious yogas. So they have only Amrita Yoga and Siddha Yoga throughout the year. But Lord Krishna in Srimad Bhagavad Gita says, Ritunam Kusumakaraha. So in the 10th chapter, Vibhuti Yogam, he says, among seasons I am the spring season. But again he says, Masana Margashirshoham. So when we say that Ritunam Kusumakaraha, among seasons I am spring season, but spring season constituted by 2 months, but in months I am Margari, he says. He did not point out one of the 2 months, either Chaitra or Vaishakha, when he uttered the name of month. Because Hanuman born in Margari. Hanuman born in Mula Nakshatram in the month of Margari. So for every star there is a deity according to Vedas. For Swati Nakshatram, the deity is Vayu. Swati Nakshatram Vayur Devata. So that is why to perform Swati Nakshatra Pariharam, we have to worship Hanuman only. So that is why in Sholingar or in Namakkal, the idol of Hanuman has been installed opposite to Lord Narasimha. Usually Hanuman will be installed opposite to Sri Rama only. This is the secret revealed by Vedas. So Hanuman is the incarnation of Vayu. He is the most impressive character in the entire epic Srimad Ramayanam. The most winsome personality. Only Hanuman gives meaning to the lives of the hero and heroine, Rama and Sita. Only Hanuman brought significance to the whole epic. That is why Sant Tulasidas invokes in Ramacharita-manas, 2 Ishwaras in Ramacharita-manas. Sita Rama Gunagramau Punyaranyadhiharinau Vande Vishuddha Vijnanau Kavishwara Kapishwarau. So he uses the word Vishuddha Vijnana. Vishuddha Vijnanau is used from Hayagriva Sostram of Sri Vedanta Deshika by Tulasidas. Remember, Vishuddha Vijnana Ghanaswarupam Vijnana Vishrana Baddhadiksham. So Rama says to sage Agastya in Uttarakāṇḍam, only by the virtues of Hanuman I regained everything. Yatasya bahuviryena Lanka Sita cha Lakshmana Prapta Maya Jayaschaiva Rajyam Mitrani Bandhava. Agastya aptly replies, Satyame tad raghushreshtha yad bravishi Hanumati nabale vidyate tulyaha nagatau namatau paraha. So Rama himself wonders why Hanuman did not finish Vali. So in whom we find courage, competence, strength, skill, brilliance, and impact. Everything had made home. He is mightier than Vali as well as Ravana. Atulam balame tadvaihi bhalino Ravanasya cha natvetabhyam Hanumata samam titi matirmama shauryam dakshyam balam dhairyam prajnata nayasadhanam vikramascha prabhavascha Hanumati kritalayah. So Sundarakāṇḍam has rightly been called as by his name, one canto. Okay, one kāṇḍam, for it is here he shines most brilliantly. Sundarakāṇḍam is Hanumat kāṇḍam. So Hanuman, the word is derived from Hanu. So actually, usually they say only one meaning, like Buddhiman, Nitiman, Hanuman. One who is a person, who is a personage with a prominent jaw. Prominent because it was damaged by Lord Indra. But Hanuman means one who honors the highest truth, the ultimate Brahman. For that we have to refer to Panini, Ashtadhyayi. In Panini's Ashtadhyayi, Tadditiya Matup Atishayane, Tadditiya Matup Atishayane, that is a sutra. And Nu, Kup Pratiya Yoge Pujayam Prashamsayam, highest truth is He. He Shive Salile Shunye Dharane Mangale Picha Gagane Chakulishe Cha Rakte Nake Cha Varnyate iti Mediri Kosha. That is a separate dictionary like Amara Kosha Mediri. So Hanu is Hanu plus one, that is Hanu. Hanu means energetic movement, Gati. Brilliance of intellect, Mati. And extraordinary accomplishments, that is Prapti. Aishwarya Bhoga Brahma Prapti. When Agastya tells Rama that there is none equal to Hanuman in strength, Balam, in energetic action, that is Gati. In brilliance of intellect, that is Mati. He refers to the three dimensions of Hanu. Three dimensions of Hanu. Nabale vidyate tulyaha na gatau na matau paraha. All Gatyartha also have some Jnanartha, Jnanavachi Anushabdaha. So Hanuman's knowledge was complete and comprehensive. He says to Rama, Deha buddhya tu dasoham jiva drishtya twadam shakaha atma buddhya tumevaham itime nishchita bhatihi. That is why it is named as Sundarakāṇḍam. Sundare Sundari Sita, Sundare Sundari Katha, Sundare Sundari Lanka, Sundare Kinna Sundaram. And Sundare Sundarim Sita Nakshatam Marute Mukhat Sutta Krishtha Tathaivastu Saramas Satatam Hrudi. So the present day concept of SWOT analysis is fully explained in Sundarakāṇḍam by Srimad Valmiki for management science. Objective of a SWOT analysis. S is for strength, W for weakness. These two are internal, and O for opportunities, and T for threat, external to oneself. So the objective of a SWOT analysis is to help organizations to develop a full awareness of all the factors involved in making a business decisions. So use the SWOT analysis to show your business activities, institution. It is a compilation of your own strength, your weaknesses, your opportunities and threats. So we must be fully aware of all these factors involved in making a decision. So Hanuman thinks in Champu Ramayanam, when he reaches Sri Lanka's border, he thinks on similar lines, that using SWOT analysis. Vanarasena katham thayadima pantarayam vitanvantam udanvantam taradunama kathamupayatu yatu dhana rajadhani vimaham moghi kritarnava langhanaha kevala mahamabhavam jivitava nava iti najanami janagiti tatra bhagavatim sita mavajigimishu anjaneyah prachanna sanchara hetoho astamayam gabhakti malinaha kevalam abhilalasha. So in each and every word of Srimad Valmiki Ramayanam, we find that SWOT analysis of management science. And that is why Thiruvalluvar said in Thirukural, Vinay Valiyum, Tan Valiyum, Matran Valiyum, Tunai Valiyum Tukkichayal. So Hanuman pervades the whole Srimad Valmiki Ramayanam like Vayu, because Vayu pervades the whole universe. So with these few words, I invite our speaker, Mr. M.V. Aravind. He is a great speaker. He is traveling abroad He is giving lectures on behalf of ISKCON, on Srimad Bhagavad Gita, on Srimad Valmiki Ramayana, etc. Okay, at present he is at Bombay. So he is a versatile genius with multifarious activities. And I welcome you all for this shining evening on behalf of the Department of Oriental Studies and on behalf of the management of Shastra and on behalf of you, the students. Thank you very much. Over to Mr. Aravind. Thank you.
Very grateful to the management of Shastra University, to my guide, Dr. Kannan, for having invited me here to be a part of this very beautiful and most amazing conference on understanding the Sundarakāṇḍam, the management sciences in Sundarakāṇḍam. I welcome all the guests and the students of Shastra University who are a part of this session. I also welcome every single person who has come here to hear me speak on the Sundarakāṇḍam. Very grateful to Kannan sir for introducing me with such kind words and for welcoming me in such a beautiful way. Today, I am very honored and grateful to be speaking on the Sundarakāṇḍam of Valmiki Ramayana. I will begin the Sundarakāṇḍam. I'll begin a narration. Of course, Kannan sir just presented some amazing depth and concepts in the last 15-16 minutes. It's been like a flow of nectar from his side. So it's very beautiful to hear somebody who is so deeply entrenched in the Sundarakāṇḍam and in the knowledge of all our scriptures. I'll speak from a little different perspective, which is going to be very purely based on management sciences from the Sundarakāṇḍam. Kannan sir, in the end, he just gave a very brief touch on that subject of how there is so much management. Practically every single thing in the Sundarakāṇḍam is teaching us so much, concepts of management. So today I'll be speaking from a very practical and from a very, realistic manner of how we can learn so many amazing things from the Sundarakāṇḍam Ramayana. I'll begin the story from a little before the Sundarakāṇḍam. This is still the Kiṣkinḍa-kāṇḍam Ramayana. This is the last part of the Kiṣkinḍa-kāṇḍam Ramayana, where we find that the monkey army, the Vanar Sena, is on the southern shore of the ocean. And they all come to know that Mother Sita is on the other side of the ocean. And they all are trying to discuss among themselves who is going to be able to cross the ocean. And as they are discussing among themselves who will be able to cross the ocean, all of them come up with their own analysis of how much they can do themselves. So some of them say that they can do, 10 miles. Somebody says I can do 20 miles. Somebody says I can do, 50 miles. So like that, each one speaks about, one's own abilities, analysis, skills. What Kannan sir was talking about, the Swot analysis. Each one is talking about their strengths and weaknesses. So finally, one of them said I can do 100 miles. Then another said I can do 200 miles. Then finally, one said I can do 500 miles. And then finally, Angad said I can do 800 miles. But the problem with Angad was he was not sure that he'll come back. So what is the point in jumping to Lanka and not being able to come back? So everyone was dejected and they didn't really, conclude who is actually going to do it. Jambavan, who was one of the leaders among them, the oldest among them and one of the leaders, Jambavan, he spoke. And he said, even if Angad can go and return back, he shouldn't go because he's one of the most important people. So he kind of slightly helped Angad, not explain why he can't come back. But the Acharyas explained that Angad is Valiputra. And being the son of Vali, being affected by temptations is very easy for Angad. So, just imagine if you go to a place like Las Vegas, anybody who goes to Las Vegas, it's so attractive and so tempting, good chance you will not be able to come back. So Lanka is very much like that, so much allurement and temptations. Sundara was not sure that he'll be able to come back from there. So as all of them were wondering who is going to do it, Jambavan started looking at all of them, and he realized that one of them had not spoken at all, and that was Hanuman. And Jambavan walked up to Hanuman, and he began to inspire Hanuman, reminding Hanuman of his powers. Jambavan, he spoke so many things about Hanuman's past and his greatness, his mother, his father, the greatness of his ancestry, the greatness of whom he is connected to. And then Jambavan, in his conclusions, he speaks. He says, "Balam buddhim cha tejas cha sattvam cha hari sattama vishishtam sarva bhuteshu kim atmanam na sajjase." He tells Hanuman, "Oh Hanuman, you are the finest among all beings. By the dint of power that you have great faculty, you have great flair, you have great fortitude. Then why are you not ready to jump across the ocean?" As Jambavan reminded Hanuman of his powers, Hanuman suddenly became huge. He started growing in size, and he suddenly started remembering all his strengths. And from that point onwards in the Ramayana, you find Hanuman is the hero of the Ramayana. Practically throughout the Ramayana, you'll find in every page of the Ramayana, Hanuman is spread, literally. And all the most heroic acts are done by Hanuman. A very interesting point at this juncture to understand from a management perspective is this. Jambavan, he was analyzing all the strengths and weaknesses of all the monkeys in that army. And while he was making his analysis, he realized that Hanuman had not spoken, and he inspired Hanuman. From the world's point of view, Hanuman is the hero. But from Hanuman's point of view, Jambavan is the hero. I call Jambavan as an invisible leader, because we need leaders like Jambavan who can inspire Hanumans to go and achieve greatness. Every great Hanuman needs a great inspirer like Jambavan. If every person thinks like Jambavan, you can imagine how many Hanumans can be created in this world. How many people can be inspired to show their greatness to the world, to exhibit their valor, exhibit their strength, exhibit their abilities to the world. What is short today is not short of heroes. What the world is short of today is short of people who can inspire heroes, inspire everyone to become a hero. And therefore we find Hanuman, he was so grateful to Jambavan for reminding him of his powers. The sages many years back had given Hanuman a curse when he was very small. He was using his powers in all kinds of naughty things. And the sages had given him a curse that you will forget all your powers till somebody reminds you of it. Hanuman lost all his powers, forgot all his powers, till the point Jambavan actually reminded him of his powers. And from that point onwards, Hanuman becomes the hero of the Ramayana. Practically throughout the Ramayana, we find Hanuman's heroism being shown. So Jambavan is inspiring Hanuman. He is saying, "Uttishta Harishardula, Langasva Maha Arnavam, Parahi Sarva Bhutanam, Hanuman Yagati Tava." He's saying, "Oh, arise, oh lion among Vanaras." So here, Harishardula, the word Hari refers to a monkey. But the word Hari can also refer to the Supreme Lord. And here, he is called as Harishardula. He is called lion among monkeys. And it's a double appreciation. So a lot of times in the Sundarakāṇḍam of the Ramayana, we find Hanuman is being addressed as Hari, in Harishreshta, Harishardula, like that in many places. And because he's such a great devotee of Hari also. And plus, from a Sanskrit point of view, Hari also means monkey. So Jambavan is inspiring, leap over this ocean, and there is no other person who can do things like you. When Jambavan spoke such words, then Hanuman assumed this massive form, and he climbs over the Mahendra Parvat. And as he climbs over the Mahendra Parvat, there is this massive mountain-like form of Hanuman standing over another mountain. So many of the acharyas explain that it almost seemed like the Mahendra Parvat, so the Mandar Parvat that was standing on Kurma. So Kurmadev was huge in size, And on top of Kurmadev, there was another mountain, the Mandar Parvat, during the churning of the Milk Ocean. So many of the sages and the people, many of the people that saw the sight of Hanuman standing over the mountain, the Mahendra Parvat, almost felt like the repetition of the same event of Kurmadev and the Mandar Parvat over Kurma. And Hanuman was so huge in size, and the weight of Hanuman began to press the mountain, and all kinds of beautiful ores, iron ores, silver ores, gold ores started oozing out from the mountain, and the entire mountain became colored with so many beautiful colors. And then we find Hanuman, he prays, he offers his prayers. He offers his prayers to Vayu, his father, offers his prayers to Surya, he offers his prayers to the Supreme Lord Rama, he offers his prayers to all the great divine personalities, and then he wants to jump off. As Hanuman is planning to jump off, all the Vanaras below who are looking at Hanuman go through a transformation. They are not able to believe that one of them has suddenly become a hero. So imagine, all of us, we have friends, and usually, when one of our friends becomes a hero, suddenly, somebody is a celebrity, somebody becomes an extremely well-known person, a big achiever. It's not always easy to handle that, right? But the Vanaras are so amazing that when one of their friends goes through a transformation and becomes a hero, the Vanaras are not insecure. The Vanaras are not unhappy that somebody has become a hero and they are still the way they are. But the Vanaras are celebrating. So important it is to celebrate other people's success. One of the most important principles of management is that when someone is succeeding in life, when someone someone who's your friend, someone who's your equal, achieves greatness in life, achieves great success in life, the question is, are you able to celebrate their success? And here we find a great example of the Vanaras below and Hanuman on top of the mountain. And Hanuman is huge in size and he's just about to take off. The Vanaras are glorifying their friend like anything. The Vanaras are encouraging their friend like anything. The Vanaras are celebrating their friends like anything. Sundarakāṇḍam is a book of non-enviousness. And we find the Vanaras are exhibiting so much of non-enviousness towards their friend. And then Hanuman, he jumps off. So here, the Sundarakāṇḍam actually begins with a very beautiful note. Tato Ravana Nitaya Sitaya Shatrukarshana Yesha Padman Vestum Charana Charitaye Pati. So here we find that Hanuman, he desires to travel in the skyways where the celestials like the Charanas tread to search for Mother Sita who was taken away by Ravan. Tato Ravana Nitaya Sitaya. So Ravan is taken by Sita. But the many acharyas explain that actually Ravan did not take Sita, but rather Sita took Ravan. So it's, because it is explained that Sita actually was born for the destruction of evil forces. And it is not that Ravan kidnapped her, but rather she goes ahead and plans the destruction of all the evil forces. When Mother Sita and Lord Ram were leaving from Ayodhya, Mother Sita tells Ram that one of the reasons that you should take me with you to the forest is because I will go in front of you and bear all the Kushakantakam on my feet. Mother Sita actually tells Ram this, that I will go in front of you, I will walk in front of you, and all the thorns, all the pebbles, all the, the piercing substances that are on the floor of the forest, I will bear it on my feet, and you will get comfort of walking. What is that Kushakantakam that Sita speaks about in the Ayodhya Kāṇḍa, the Ramayana? Actually, she is talking about not the thorns and pebbles of the forest, but she's talking about the thorn-like people like Ravan, who are like Kushakantakam, who are creating disturbance for the sake of the world. And she paves the way. And we find that Hanumanji is now ready to jump, and he makes this massive leap across the ocean. And it is explained that in this jump of Hanumanji, in this one jump of Hanumanji towards Lanka and the whole experience of the Sundarakāṇḍam, the Ramayana, we find Hanuman has used every single thing in the service of Lord Ram. He has used all the elements in the service of Ram. He uses the airways, the Vayu element. to serve Lord Ram. He crosses the ocean, so he crosses the water element to serve Lord Ram. He lights Lanka on fire, so he uses the fire element in the service of Lord Ram. He meets Mother Sita, he uses the earth element in the service of Lord Ram. And because he travels over the skyways, the ether element is also used in the service of Lord Ram. So Hanuman is so expert, he uses every single thing in the service of Lord Ram. And the other beautiful explanation that is given is that if you actually study the Valmiki Ramayana, we find that in the Valmiki Ramayana, when there's a whole discussion on why Hanuman is not speaking anything, the Acharyas give a very beautiful explanation. Hanuman, when all the other Vanaras are speaking about their abilities, what they can do and what they can't do, how much they can do, what their capacity is, Hanuman has not spoken a single word because the question was wrong. The question according to Hanuman, if you ask a question to Hanuman, what you can do, Hanuman won't answer the question. Why? Because Hanuman doesn't speak about his ability. Hanuman doesn't speak about what I can do. According to Hanuman, he is an arrow in the hand of Lord Ram. He is just a nimitta matra avasavesachi. He is an instrument in the hands of the Lord. How far an arrow can go doesn't depend on the arrow. How far the arrow can go depends on the person who shoots the arrow. So it's the arms of the shooter, the person who shoots the arrow, that determines how far the arrow can go. So Hanuman considers himself to be an arrow in the hand of Lord Ram. And how far he can go, it doesn't depend on his ability, but it depends on the Lord's ability. And therefore Hanuman never spoke anything when he was asked, how much can you do? As Hanuman jumps across the ocean, he comes across many obstacles. The entire Sundarakāṇḍam of the Ramayana can be considered to be a book of management, and all the obstacles that Hanuman faces while on his travel to meet Mother Sita can be considered to be all the obstacles a manager would face while going to towards his mission, while trying to accomplish a project. And in this particular case, the project is Mother Sita, meeting Mother Sita. But you can just take the same thing from an allegorical way, from a practical way, on how every obstacle that Hanuman comes across while crossing the ocean, carrying out this big, massive project, is the same obstacles that a manager comes while trying to achieve a particular project or fulfill a particular objective of his life. The first objective or the first obstacle that comes on the path of Hanumanji while he's crossing across the ocean is Mainak, the golden mountain. A beautiful golden mountain comes right in the middle of the ocean and obstructs Hanumanji. And on this mountain is this most amazing, dazzling personality named Mainak. He introduces himself, he expresses his gratitude to Hanuman because not only Hanuman was a part of the mission of Lord Ram, who is responsible for the creation, whose ancestors, the Sagaras, are responsible for creating the ocean in which Mainak is getting shelter. Mainak has been under the shelter of the ocean, Varuna, for a long period of time because Indra was cutting off the wings of all the mountains. And Mainak got shelter under the ocean. So he has gratitude towards Ram because Ram's ancestors created the ocean. And therefore, now assisting the mission of Ram is actually assisting the mission of the ancestors of Ram also. And the second reason is because while Indra was in the midst of cutting off the wings of all the mountains, Vayu helped Mainak. He blew him off and threw him into the ocean. And because Vayu at the right time blew off Mainak, he was saved from the wrath of Indra. So Mainak has a debt towards Vayu also, and therefore Hanuman is Vayu Putra. And because he is Vayu Putra, he has to express gratitude towards Hanuman also. And keeping all that in mind, Mainak offered all kinds of comforts to Hanumanji. He said, please, you're going on a long journey. Please come, take a rest over here. You've already been traveling for such a long period of time, 2 months in search of Sita. You must be exhausted. Take rest here. I'll give you the best of fruits, the best of water, the best of facilities. And then you go ahead on your journey. Hanuman, when he heard this request of Mainak, Hanuman made a very beautiful statement. He said, Tvarate karya kalo me ahascha vartate pratignya cha maya datta nasta tvayami hantare. Hanuman tells Mainak, he says, my duty is calling me. Karya kalomi. He's saying, I have a duty to perform. And my duty is time bound. Kala. Kala means time. Time is important. Time is crucial for me in my performance of my duty. And he's saying, the day is passing very fast. And I have a promise to keep. I have a pratigya. Pratigya cha maya datta. And I've already given a pratigya. I've given a promise. And I should not be neglecting my duty here by enjoying comforts and enjoying, the pleasures that you are promising. One of the most important factors when you want to carry out a project, when you want to do anything in life, one of the most important factors is the ability to say no to distractions and temptations. Every time in our life, when we are going ahead and trying to accomplish something great in life, whenever anyone tries to do anything great in life, there will always be obstacles coming in. One of the biggest obstacles is comforts. If you want to achieve anything great, don't think of shortcuts and don't think anything great can be achieved without any great efforts. And here we find Hanuman, when he's trying to achieve something great, there's a first obstacle that is coming up, which is comforts. Hanuman is saying no. How do you deal with temptations that come in midst of your duties? You deal with temptations that come in the midst of your duties by alertness. When you are alert and aware of your mission, of your goal, and of your priorities, when you remember the promise that you have given yourself, and when you have given the promise that you have given others, that alertness will help you deal with all the obstacles and say no to all the temptations that come in between us and our mission. As Hanuman goes further, he comes across a second obstacle. So, the most amazing, understanding of the Sundarakāṇḍam of Ramayana is that Sundarakāṇḍam of Ramayana is actually a very live and a very realistic account of what each and every one of us go through in our day-to-day lives while we are dealing with the realities of this world. As Hanuman goes further and he comes across this most powerful demoness right in the middle of the ocean rising. This lady, her name is Surasa. So she stops Hanumanji and she challenges Hanumanji. She tells him that, you cannot go any further because I have a boon from Lord Brahma. And according to this boon, no one can pass me without entering my mouth. And Brahma's boon cannot go wrong. So Surasa opens her mouth wide and she says, you have to be my meal. Hanuman says, see, I have no problem in, giving myself to you. I have no problem in dying. But my problem is I cannot die before I reach my destination, reach my goal, fulfill my mission. After I fulfill my mission, I will come and give myself to you, no problem. A great person is not fearful of death. They're fearful of dying before accomplishing their goals. Hanuman was not afraid of dying, but he didn't want to die for no reason. He wanted to die for a great cause. He said, let me finish my mission. So the determination of Hanumanji to fulfill his mission is so powerful that even if death comes in front of him, he is ready to postpone death because he feels his mission is so very important. Great people are so obsessed with what they want to do, what they want to achieve. They will find some way to achieve it. We find Hanuman, he tells Surasa, I'm sorry, I can't stop. And he increases his size bigger than the mouth of Surasa. Surasa makes her mouth 10 yojanas, much bigger than Hanuman. Hanuman makes himself 20 yojanas, much bigger than Surasa's mouth. Surasa makes herself 30 yojanas. Hanuman becomes 40. Surasa becomes 50. Hanuman becomes 60. And at some point, Surasa's mouth is open to 100 yojanas in height. And Hanuman, he reduces his form to the size of a small fly, enters the mouth of Surasa and comes out. And after he enters the mouth of Surasa and comes out, he tells Mother Surasa, Pravistosmi hi te vaktram dakshayani namostute gamisye yatra vaidehi satyam cha svidvarastava. He tells her, O daughter of Daksha, Dakshayani namostute. He says, oh doctor, he's respecting Surasa. He says, I entered your mouth and now I've come out. My regards to you, namastestu. He says, I will go where Sita is now. Your boon has been accomplished. Satyam, he says, so he says, your desire or Brahma's boon has been taken care of. Now just leave me to go. Let me go. Surasa was so huge in size. And as Surasa was increasing her size, Hanuman was increasing his size. And then Surasa was increasing her size, Hanuman was increasing his size. The competition was going endless. And at some point, Hanuman realized, what is my goal? Is my goal to prove that I'm bigger than her? Is my goal to prove that I'm greater than her? Or is my goal to reach Sita? A lot of people, while they are at a mission, while they're trying to achieve some objective in life, they forget the reason why they are on the mission. They forget their mission and focus on trying to prove that they're great in front of others. So when we get into this competitive mood, and instead of trying to focus on the mission, we get into this whole mood of trying to prove that I'm greater than somebody else. So Hanuman at some point realized there is no end to competition. No matter how big I become, Surasa will become bigger than me. She'll try to show that she's greater than me. The only way you can deal with the competitive mentality is by humility. Hanuman became small in size. He says, fine, I'm small. I have lost. I am not greater than you, but just allow me to go. So Hanuman was very respectful to Surasa, and Surasa really liked that. And she really liked his intelligence. She blessed him that he'll become successful in his journey. When you try to compete with others and you try to prove yourself greater than others, there's nothing that you're going to gain. But when you take a humble stance and you let go of the competitive spirit, let them be great. Let them think they're great. It's fine. Just let me focus on my goal. That's what the mood of Hanuman is. Everyone who's trying to focus on the mission, everyone who's trying to accomplish a project, accomplish a goal, please remember that it's not about proving yourself to be great, but it's about focusing on the goal and not being carried away with the desire to be competitive and to show that you're great. As Hanuman goes further, he decides to fly very high. He flies at the level at which Garuda flies. It is explained that each different living entities can fly at different heights. The birds can fly at one level. Higher than that, the Chanaras, the Siddhas, the Gandharvas, all of them can fly at different heights. The highest level is the level at which Garuda flies. And even higher than that is the level at which Lord Shiva flies, Rudra. And that was the level at which Hanuman was flying. And while Hanuman was flying so high in the sky, his shadow was falling on the ground, on the ocean. And he was flying very, very fast. And as he was flying, suddenly at one point, he froze. He couldn't go backwards. He couldn't go forwards. He was just stuck in one place, right in the middle of the air. And Hanuman was wondering what is happening. And as Hanuman was wondering what is happening, suddenly he felt pulled towards the ocean. And there was a force that was pulling him so intensely towards the ocean. And as he was being pulled towards the ocean, he realized this is Chaya Grahi. Sugriv, in the Kishkinda of the Ramayana, when the Vanaras left towards the southern direction, Sugriv had warned about this particular demoness who is inside the ocean between the southern tip of the landmass and Lanka. And he called her as Chaya Grahi. Chaya Grahi means the one who grabs the shadow and pulls a person down. Every human being, no matter how great he is, he has a shadow that he leaves behind. Every human being has a shadow. What does a shadow represent? Shadow represents your faults, your weaknesses, your flaws. No matter how great you are, no matter how high you're flying on the ladder of success, on the heights of success, no matter how high you're flying, in achieving greatness, you will always have a shadow that connects you to the ground. The shadow is your fault. That means all the greatest people in the world have one fault at least. And people who are envious of greatness, people who are envious of great people, don't focus on the greatness of that person, don't focus on the success of the person, but they focus on the shadow. They focus on the fault of the person. They wait for one small fault. They wait for one defect, and they catch the defect and pull the person down from greatness. And you will always find envious people all around you, especially if you're successful. And envious people, they try to focus on your weakness and pull you down, holding your faults and weaknesses. And that's what Chaya Grahi did. She pulled Hanumanji. And as she pulled Hanumanji, Hanuman entered into her mouth. He became very small, entered into her mouth, actually went through her organs into her belly, tore open her belly and came out. He killed Simhika. Simhika was trying to destroy Hanumanji. And as Simhika was trying to destroy Hanuman, Hanuman destroyed her. The third obstacle that comes when you are trying to achieve a goal, trying to achieve a mission, a project, is envy. You'll always find envious people around you, and you will get envious at somebody. The only way to deal with envy is by destroying it. You cannot use envy in a positive way. The one thing that we have to give up in our life, if you want to be successful, is envy. And every single time in our life, when we hold envy in our hearts, we're actually trying to pull somebody down. Envy should not have a place in anyone who is wanting to be successful in life. Hanuman, he destroyed Simhika. And as Hanuman destroyed Simhika, all the great personalities assembled who saw this greatness of Hanuman, they began to speak about Hanuman's glories. And out of many things that they spoke, one thing that the amazing thing that they spoke, which every manager should know, is this. Yasya Tvetani Chavatri Chatvari Vanarendra Yathatava Dhriti Drishtir Matir Dakshyam Sakarmashu Na Siddhati. So they are talking about four things, four qualities any human being should have. And if somebody has these four qualities, that person can never fail. And they speak about these four qualities. They say Dhriti, Drishti, Matir, Dakshyam. They say these are four qualities that every human being should have. Which are the four? Courage, Dhriti. Drishti is vision. Matir is intelligence. And Dakshyam is expertise or skills. So if you want to achieve any success in life, and you have these four things, no one can stop you from achieving success in life. And the great personalities, they glorify Hanuman because he exhibited greatness and he had all these four qualities in him. Hanuman, he now moves further and reaches the shore of Lanka. He lands on the shores of Lanka and he's seeing this beautiful city of Lanka expanding in front of him. And then Hanuman runs into the city of Lanka. And of course, there are many other things that happen in between. I'm just kind of slightly fast forwarding the discussion and focusing on three things. As Hanuman tries to enter the city, he takes a very tiny form. Valmiki Ramayana explains that he takes almost the form of a cat, the size of a cat, and he's trying to enter into Lanka. As he's trying to enter into Lanka, he's stopped by this huge personality named Lankini. Lankini, she is the mistress of Lanka. She is like the guardian of Lanka. And no one can enter Lanka without her permission. And no one can enter Lanka without her sanction. And no matter how small or big a person is, Lankini is there to stop the person from entering. She stops Hanumanji. And Hanuman tells her, she asks him, who are you and why are you here? And what are you here for? Hanuman explains, see, I'm a monkey, I'm a Vanara. I've just come here to look around. I won't do anything. I'll just go look around and go back. So Lankini just doesn't understand. She says, without Ravan's permission, no one can enter Lanka. Hanuman tells her, see, I'm a monkey. If I want to do something, nobody can stop me. Once a monkey decides to do something, that's it. So Lankini tried her best to stop him and he didn't listen and she got angry and she pushed him. When she pushed him, Hanuman got really wild. Hanuman jumped up and gave her a very tight punch. Of course, he knew that, it's a lady, so he didn't hit her so hard. He hit her sufficiently, basically. And when Lankini was hit so hard by Hanumanji, Lankini literally fell down. And Hanuman hit her. And it's explained that Lankini was so bewildered and so disturbed that when she got up, she was a different person. Lankini, she told him, she suddenly remembered an old story. She told him that Lord Brahma had told me many years back that the day a Vanara comes and hits me, you should remember that is the end of Lanka. And she tells Hanumanji that the destruction of Ravan and the evil-minded king and all the Rakshasas is already declared. And it is due to from the day Sita has entered into Lanka, From that day, everything bad is going to happen to Lanka. That has been predicted. So the interesting thing is, here, Lankini went through a heart transformation in one moment. Lankini represents another obstacle that a person faces on the path to achieve any project or any goal. You always find people who are very attached to their opinions. When you find people who are very attached to their opinions, Lankini was very, very sure that her master is Ravan, and she was very, very sure that her goal and role is to stop anybody from entering into Lanka. But Lankini never remembered Brahma's boon till this point of time, till Hanuman punched her. There are some people who don't understand when you speak to them logically. They don't understand when you speak to them lovingly. They don't understand when you speak to them kindly. So sometimes you have to use a little bit of force. Of course, you should know how much force to use. You shouldn't be so forceful that you disturb a person totally. But sometimes a little heaviness is important. And if you actually see, Hanuman showed a little heaviness. And because Hanuman showed a little heaviness to her, suddenly she went through a transformation. And she became a totally different person. She was ready to hear opinions. She was ready to hear, she became flexible. A lot of people need a little intense treatment for becoming flexible in life. That's the role of a guru. The role of a guru is not to speak always kind words. The role of a guru is sometimes to speak heavy words, and those heavy words shake us up. And only when we are shaken up, we are ready for knowledge. Hanumanji goes further in and searches all over Lanka. And as Hanuman is traveling all over Lanka, he searches every single corner of Lanka. And when he searches every single corner of Lanka, he just doesn't find Sita. And he becomes very disturbed. He goes through all the palaces. There are beautiful descriptions in the Sundarakāṇḍam. I mean, I have spoken the Sundarakāṇḍam at least for about 12 to 15 hours, in the past. And I'm kind of summarizing everything in an essence, 45 minutes. I have to end in the next 5 minutes. But the essence of all that search, after so much of search, he came across temptations. He came across so many disturbing sights. He saw the beauty of Lanka. He saw the amazing opulence of Lanka. And at the end of all that, he didn't find Sita. And Hanuman became very despondent. When Hanuman became very despondent, he had no idea what to do. And he was so confused and he almost was losing. He went into a depression. For all the managers of today, when they're trying to do something great in life, when they're trying to achieve any kind of greatness, there will be points in time when you become depressed. There will be points in time when you feel that you can't do it, when you feel that you want to give up, when you feel that I cannot achieve the goal that I want to so desperately achieve. When Hanuman felt like that, at some point, he sat down for a moment and he offered a prayer. Namastu Ramaya sa Lakshmanaya Deve Chitasye Janakatmajaya Namastu Rudra Indra Yama Anilepyo Namastu Chandra Arka Marut Ganebyo. When Hanuman offered this prayer was such a beautiful prayer. It is explained by the Acharyas that if you lose anything in life, if you lose hope, if you lose anything in your life, if you lose courage, if you lose determination, if you lose anything in life, offer this prayer and you will get it. What is this prayer about? He is glorifying Ram and Lakshman first. And then he is glorifying Mother Sita. He was trying to find Mother Sita, but without the blessings of Mother Sita, how is he going to find her? And then he offers respects to Rudra. He offers respect to Indra, Yama, and Vayu, his father. And he offers respect to practically every divine personality in this world. And when he offers respects to all these people, suddenly that's when he sees Ashok Vatika. And he realizes that I have seen everywhere in Lanka except Ashok Vatika. He found hope when he offered this prayer. A lot of times in life, when we lose hope and we don't know what to do, all logic and all reasoning is not working, that is the time every human being has to look for something different to find hope. And one of the most powerful tools every manager should look at is the tool of prayer. We consider prayer to be a spare wheel, but actually a prayer should be your driving wheel. So drive your life ahead. And finally, when Hanuman met Mother Sita, so many beautiful and amazing experiences Hanumanji had. But I'm going to share one thing that I consider to be the most amazing thing that we can learn as managers and as people who are trying to absorb something from the Sundarakāṇḍam Ramayana. When Hanuman appeared in front of Mother Sita, he was very tiny, he was very small. Why did Hanuman take such a small form? Because he felt, I'm too small in front of the greatness of Mother Sita. And how can I show my greatness to her by showing a big form? So he took a very tiny form and came in front of her. And of course, he wanted to be called son by Mother Sita. He was waiting for Mother Sita to call him son. And when you take a small form, you are easily called a child, right? So Hanuman took the small form and appeared in front of Mother Sita. And Sita, when she saw him, and Hanuman started talking to her about, how he can take her back to Ram, and how, Ram's army is there to save her. So many things he was talking about, the greatness of Ram and greatness of the Vanarasena and all that. And one of the things, it confused Sita. So she was not sure how such a small person can help her in any way. She has seen the greatness of Ravan. She has seen the size of the demons. She has seen Kumbhakarna's massive size. She knows everything in Lanka. And here she's finding a very tiny form. And she's wondering, how can he help her? And Hanuman, he understands Sita's words. Hanuman shows his massive form in front of Mother Sita. When Hanuman shows his massive form in front of Mother Sita, Sita asks him a question. She asks him, what is your original form? Are you small or are you big? What is your exact form? And Hanuman gives a very beautiful explanation. This is in Tulsidas Ramayana. And Hanumanji explains to Mother Sita, he says, my dear mother, I'm actually very small. I'm originally small. But for the mission of the Lord, I can take any size. Let's just discuss this. And this is the definition of humility in my understanding. A lot of people don't have the right understanding of what humility is. And if you look at this particular section and you just look at this story and the explanation that Hanumanji gives, is just so amazing. He tells her, I am originally very small. That means all of us are insignificant. Jivara Swaruphoy Krishna and Nityadas. We are all tiny, insignificant entities. And we are so sukshma, so tiny. Brahma, when he was offering his prayers in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Brahma compares himself to be a firefly. And he compares Krishna to be like the sun. And compared to the sun, what is a firefly's light? They're insignificant. So Hanuman says, I'm small. But he says, for the mission of the Lord, I can take any size. Size means responsibility. So usually you tell somebody to take some responsibility. They'll say, no, I'm very small. I'm useless. So they don't want to take responsibility. And they actually try to make it as if it is humility. But that's actually not humility. Look at Hanuman's humility. Hanuman says, I'm small. But for the mission of the Lord, I can take any size. Because Hanuman understands that it's not about me. Every great manager should remember Krishna's words in the Gita. Krishna speaks about 5 factors behind action. Whenever you do anything in life, whatever project you do in life, there are 5 factors that are responsible for the success of the project. The first factor is a person. You choose it's called karta. You choose the best person for the best project, you'll get the best results. The second thing is the place. You choose the best place, you'll get the best results. The third is instruments. You choose the best instruments, there's a good chance you'll get best results. The fourth is chesta or type of endeavors. You put more efforts, there is a good chance you'll become successful. And the fifth is the most important thing. Krishna calls it as Daiva. Daiva means the hand of God, hand of destiny, whatever you want, you can call it. But there is one factor that is not in your hand. And that factor being not in your hand, it makes you and keeps you humble. And therefore, Hanumanji is exhibiting such humility in front of Sita. And that humility is so very important for all managers to have. In spite of achieving success, remember, 4/5 of your success is in your hand. But there's 1/5 of your success that is not in your hand. And that 1/5 not being in your hand keeps us humble. Therefore, it is said, Vijayi Vinayi Bhava. May you become successful. But even while you're successful, please remain humble. Talent is God-given. Be grateful about it. Fame is man-given. Be humble about it. And egotism is self-given. Be careful about it. Thank you very much. I'd like to stop here. And if there's any questions or comments, we would be happy to take up.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Arvind, for your excellent lecture on this management science in Sundarakāṇḍam. So actually, you have shared the many principles of management, like execution of the words of a master, time management, determination to achieve the goal, and destruction of envy, and being modest to execute the work, and being modest in the life. All these principles you have touched from the management point of view by quoting these verses from Sundarakāṇḍam. So on behalf of the management, staff and students of Shastra and the Department of Oriental Studies and Research, I thank the speaker, Sri Arvind, for his lecture on management science in Sundarakāṇḍam. I thank the Chancellor, the Vice Chancellor, the Registrar for their encouragement and support. I wish to thank Professor N. Kannan, the head, the Department of Oriental Studies and Research, for arranging this webinar series for the benefit of the Sanskrit lovers. My special thanks are due to the IT wing of Shastra for their help in YouTube streaming of this webinar series. I also thank the viewers of this webinar for their enthusiastic support. Thank you, one and all.
Sir, namaskar. I have a question. The entire lecture was very enlightening. Is there a concept of whistle blowing anywhere in Ramayana? Can we get an example, sir?
In my understanding, there are certain places where there are people who have blown the whistle. Vibhishan was one of them. Vibhishan was one of those whistleblowers in the Ramayana, where he actually stood up and spoke against the king of the land, and he actually had the guts to say, "You're wrong." If Vibhishan had not done that, probably nobody in Lanka would have done it. So we find one concept here of someone standing up and speaking about something that is being done wrong, basically. And of course, we find so many other places where wherever there was wrong done, there was somebody who stood up and spoke. Like if you find in the story of the section where the sages of Dandakaranya, they're living in a forest, and we find there's a story of the Dandakaranya forest itself, of a king named Danda. And Danda was the son of Ikshvaku himself. And he lived in Ayodhya. He was the prince of Ayodhya, but he was thrown out from Ayodhya. And Danda came and did so many atrocities, in Ayodhya. That's why he was thrown out. And then he was one of the people who actually, tried to disturb one of the, sage's daughter, Shukracharya's daughter. And Shukracharya actually, he was one of those people who, stood up against that mistake that was made, and the whole kingdom of Danda got destroyed, and that got converted to Dandakaranya eventually. So we find a lot of times in the Ramayana that there are instances where people have stood up and spoken against wrong actions. I hope.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, one more question I have. In modern management, women's role is very important, and in fact, in Mahabharata, Gandhari was never heard. Do we have any character in Ramayana where a female character was not heard or not given importance?
I wouldn't say not heard, but I can say may not be prominently heard. basically. We find in the Ramayana that there are so many personalities, mothers, amazing, great personality, like Sumitra, she was the mother of Lakshman. She had such a powerful voice, but you don't find her voice much in the Ramayana. But she created, like just you say, right? Every tree is known by its fruits. So similarly, you look at Lakshman and Shatrughna, the quality of these two youngsters, or two sons, the quality of the mother, She must be such an amazing person, but we don't hear her voice too much in the Ramayana. We don't hear the voice of Urmila too much in the Ramayana. We hardly hear the voice of Mandavi in the Ramayana, the wife of Bharat Shatrugna, and Shrutakirti, hardly we hear their voices. So yes, there are people whose voices are not heard in the Ramayana, but not so much because there is a desire to be those voices to be suppressed, but because the context of the Ramayana is different. Probably if Valmiki had written a story which was different, he would have added those voices basically. So that's my understanding now.
Thank you, sir. There is a question from the audience.
Yes.
Sundara Bonsle. Prabhuji, in the corporate world, being humble gets exploited. How do we deal with that one?
In the corporate world?
In the corporate world, being humble gets exploited. How do we reconcile?
My understanding is this. Humility doesn't mean that humility is not meekness. A lot of people miscalculate or misunderstand humility to be meekness. So humility doesn't mean that I give the chance to everybody to exploit me. I need to know where to exhibit humility and where to exhibit straightforwardness. Like the simple English explanation says that be a lion on chase and a lamb at home. Lamb at home essentially means we exhibit humility in places where we need to exhibit it. In front of great teachers, that's not the place to show your greatness. In front of your parents, that's not the place to show your greatness. In front of your of people who are superior to you in terms of Vayovriddha, Jnanavriddha, Sheelavriddha, in terms of age, in terms of knowledge, and in terms of character, that's not the place to show your greatness. Those are the places where you show your humility. Because there's a place where you take, and then there's a place where you give. When I'm talking about humility, I'm talking about humility in those places where you're supposed to be taking. That means where you're supposed to be in the mode of a student. And in those places, if you exhibit greatness, your knowledge is blocked. But yes, in front of the rest of the world, you can be as you are. You don't have to be, you don't have to be humble in front of everybody in the world. There is a place for humility.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. There is another question from one of the audience. Nagesh Telange. Ability to say no can be considered as a negative attitude by our superiors and can create conflicts while meeting our goals versus their priorities. How does one deal with such situations?
When we say no to something, we're actually saying yes to something else. So saying no is bad if you have not said a yes to something else. Saying an emphatic no means saying an emphatic yes somewhere else. You only have 24 hours a day and you only have a certain amount of energy and time. You cannot do more than what that time and energy allows. The question that every person in the corporate world has to know and has to speak that language is, I'm saying yes to something more important and more probably according to my strength and according to my ability, according to my time and according to what I can contribute to the organization. And when I'm saying a yes to something else, I can say a no to something. And I don't need to really think that I'm actually refusing. The question always is, am I contributing to the organization? If I'm contributing in a major way, when you say no to someone, nobody's going to actually hold you for it. Of course, you have to be diplomatic enough to know how to say no. You don't have to be blunt. So frankness is not bluntness. So I would highly recommend that you should be expressive, express your no, but express your no in a way that is informative and educative rather than showing arrogance and a lack of enthusiasm to function.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kannan sir, for
Thank you.
allowing me to share my thoughts, and so grateful to you for your kindness and for getting this program together. It's an amazing platform to share thoughts, and very grateful to all the management of Shastra, the Vice Chancellor, the Chancellor, and all the exalted personalities who are running Shastra University to be such a high quality education. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.